Well, happy Wednesday, everybody, and hope you're all having a great day. I know it's a little bit cold outside. Sounds like it's getting a little bit odd for this season. I know it's been 60s one day, 20s the next. It seems like the weather can't make up its mind right now. But yeah, Cindy's actually mentioning that up in Boston it's in the 60-degree mark. So I'm like, go figure. I was actually talking to somebody earlier today, and I think out in Oklahoma or something, and they're saying the weather goes from 80 degrees in one day and snowing the next. So it's like I don't know what's happening. I think we're kind of getting the same kind of issue here. Hey Shelly, how you doing? And hey Jane, how are you from California? It seems like it's probably pretty warm in California, so I hope it's doing even warmer out there. How you doing, Anne Marie and Carol and Algra and North Carolina? Sounds like a great place to be at this time of year. Probably the perfect kind of temperature. So one of the things I wanted to touch base on with you this week, as you may have seen in the show notes, was really about how we can offer what's known as loving kindness to other people and how that really benefits our spirituality, our spiritual awareness, and what it is, how do we do it, and how does it affect us ultimately. I know the notion of loving kindness, if you put it in quotes, everybody thinks, oh my gosh, loving kindness is this really heavy duty thing. It's something that we really got to, focus on. It's got to be something that we really have to think about. Oh my gosh, what am I going to do? How do I deal with loving kindness? How can I possibly think about, loving kindness? That's something that only monks do, right? Well, it's not all that heavy, if you will. It's not all that difficult when you start thinking about it. I know loving kindness sounds like it's this utopian kind of phrase, right? But it's nothing but the golden rule. I'm sure everybody here has kind of heard from the golden rule, and that's probably been beaten into their heads ever since they were in Sunday school, or religious leaders are always talking about the golden rule, or God help us now, even corporations saying, love everybody, we've got to, have the golden rules. They're constantly beaten into our heads. So the question ultimately becomes, if it's such an important concept, A, why is it so important? And B, what is this thing called the golden rule or loving kindness? Why are we even involved with it? What's the deal? What's so important? So first off, let's deal with the concept, which I think is kind of like the elephant in the room, honestly, the meaning. What does it even mean? It's nice to have loving kindness in here, but when you're thinking about the golden rule, you're kind of like, well, I think I kind of know what it means, but not really. So when you're attributing the golden rule, maybe you're starting to think, okay, well, maybe that's something that came out of the Bible, or maybe that's the saying that I think was from the Sermon on the Mount that said, "Do to others what you would have them do to you," right? So that's kind of the common attribute. And I would say that's mostly true, but it's not unique to Christianity by any stretch of the imagination. It's not unique to the Bible. It's not unique to the Sermon on the Mount. I mean, it's been around for thousands of years. You can go back to Plato, Aristotle, Seneca. You can go back to different writings within Confucius. So you can do, first century, third century BC. It just goes on for a long time. This is basic humanity we're talking about. So if you're talking about the definition of placing the interest of others on an equal footing as your own, regardless of who that person is, that starts to kind of not only is it level the playing field, but it's really about what is the basic fundamental principle behind this. And this has been something that's been around for that 2,000, 3,000 years, so long. And it's been around for so long that was this is something where, Jesus was saying, treat your neighbor as yourself, or in the Bible, it was referred to as agape. In Buddhism, it's called Metta, and you'll hear about Metta a lot. I think even Facebook is changing its name to Metta. Only Metta has two T's, Facebook only has one T. Maybe Facebook is not really full of loving kindness. No, I'm going to be banned now, right? Anyway, so the concept is that it's basically, you love somebody else the same way you'd love yourself. It's just, treat other people the way you'd treat them. And basically the intention is clearly stated that you should love everybody, even your enemies. Doesn't matter who it is. Love everybody the same way. Treat everybody the same way. Even if it's somebody you don't get along with. Whether it's your family, whether it's yourself, whether it's a colleague, somebody you don't even know. Treat them all the same. And that is ultimately what true loving kindness is all about. And the big issue here is that something like that has to be cultivated. That's a discipline. That's a spiritual practice. And this is where monks become well known, especially Buddhist monks become well known for their discipline, because this is not part of human nature. It's kind of sad to say that, but when you look at the world we all live in, we're first to hit, boom, and then we'll ask questions later. What's the saying? Shoot first, ask questions later. That's kind of the world we live in right now. But that's kind of what's happening. And when you're thinking about this as a spiritual discipline, it's taking that reactionary mindset away and being very disciplined and focusing on saying, okay, I'm not going to react first. I'm not going to shoot first. I'm going to pause and I'm going to treat the other person the way I would want to be treated myself, right? And that's a discipline. That takes a lot of that's really where the concept of discipline comes in, because you really got to hold yourself back. How many times, and I want you to write in the chat, how many times have you just automatically reacted and then thought, oh, God, why did I say that? I should not have gotten so angry. I'll be the first to admit it. I do it all the time, especially with my son. Of course, he and I, what are you going to do with a 20-year-old? But that's just me. So I want everybody who has shot first and asked questions later, or yelled at somebody just because it was a reaction, to raise your hand. Oh, yeah, Cindy's going, too many. Totally. I get you, Cindy, right? So that's what it's all about. And Carol, oh, yeah, there you go. You see, we're all doing it. We're all guilty of this. And that's human nature. That's what we all do. And the reason we do that is because it's our ego. Our ego mind is here to protect us. Oh, yeah, and Karen's saying she does it all the time as well. But the ego mind creates an us versus them mentality. Us being, ego mind and me, right? Yep, and Shelley's saying she's still a culprit. So if the ego mind is putting you at the center of the world, building a wall around you to protect the you, or the me, right? So it becomes us versus them, as opposed to all of us at the same time. So it's the perspective that's completely different. But when you're caring about yourself first, it really puts a kind of a damper on things, because then you begin to rank order as you choose who you want to care about. Who are you going to care about? First, you're going to care about yourself, right? You care about yourself first. Then your loved ones and your family, you love them second. Your acquaintances come in third. Maybe some random strangers. Maybe you feel sorry for them. You got some sympathy for them. They come in last. And your enemies, oh, God forbid, you'd rather attack them, right? How many people here want to attack an enemy of some kind, distant or in the office, right? Me, it's like it's just the way our mind works. So it's all about our ego, and we work with our ego to rank order preference and who we would like to be kind to and who we would rather hit in the face. So as a result, what's winding up happening is that we're creating these artificial boundaries and we're selecting these different categories of who we're going to favor, who we're going to put out of favor, who we're going to interact with nicely, who we're going to treat badly. And that selective treatment really is kind of running counter to a nice, balanced, even approach to committing the highest good for everyone, which is the concept behind metta, or loving kindness, where you're treating everybody equally. And the idea behind that is that you're really supposed to be treating everybody in an equal respect, where you're not worried about what it is that they're going to do back to you, because you know you're giving them your most of your heart. At this point, your ego mind is probably yelling, "Stop! Why do I need to treat everybody equally? How could I possibly do that? There's no way I can do that." I know I'm guilty of that. I know my ego mind would probably be going, "There's no way I'm treating everybody equally. That's just not possible. That's just not human." Well, I'm here to tell you that it is possible, and it's in fact very human and very important. I mean, we've seen this world just spiraling out of control. I can't count the number of ways it's getting out of hand, whether we're talking about the disconnect between politics, or the disconnect between medical opinions and all this kind of stuff, or the disconnect between foreign nations and wars and Russia and Ukraine and terrorism and oh my God, the list goes on, right? So how many different ways can we be at each other's throats and disagree with people? So then the question says, how are we going to do that? Well, one way to do that is to start thinking that, hey, first off, we know we're all interconnected. And I'd say, okay, well, what does that mean? How could it possibly be that we're all interconnected? If you think as far back as the Big Bang, let's say, if you go back and far enough in time, we're all from the same source, whether you want to refer to it as source energy, God, or a gas particle, right? We're all from the same stuff. The Big Bang, according to science, was a gas ball that exploded, and all the particles in the gas ball exploded out into the universe, created the universe, and then as a result, all the things that are currently in existence are from the same particles in that gas ball. So as a result, we're all the same particles, we're all made from the same stuff, and we're all from the same source. I mean, look at the human body. We're all made up of carbon. We're all made up of the same basic materials. We're all fundamentally the same. We even think the same. We have the same habits. We have the same faults. We have the same foibles. We're all human, right? So ultimately, we're all interconnected. We're all from the same family. We're all from the same source. It doesn't take long to start realizing we're all the same. So if we're all the same, then we're either going to sink together or swim together. Personally, I'd rather swim together. I want to be buoyant. I want to make sure that we're all working together and at a point where we can do things positively. And another way that you can say that is you reap what you sow. What you put out is what you get back. So if you're loving everybody, then you're going to get great things back. If you're going to hate everybody, you're going to get a lot of hate back. You reap what you sow. What you put out is what you get back. So one of the ways as well to put loving kindness into perspective and to really start that discipline, that spiritual discipline, because again, it is a discipline, is really to start practicing random acts of kindness. You've heard this phrase, I'm sure. Just go up to somebody and give them a smile, maybe. Just pick a random person on the street, turn to them and smile like that. And imagine, A, the shock. How many people walk up to you and say, But B, imagine the pleasant surprise. They'll actually smile back. I've done that a number of times. And A, once they realize I'm not a stalker, then they realize, oh, wow, this person's being friendly. And they smile back. And all of a sudden, you can see that the brightness, like light up. And so it's this beautiful experience where you're like, oh wow, this is great. I can make people smile just by smiling at them. It's so easy. So start picking up random people that you might encounter. Best thing to do is do it in a stranger, and just maybe do something nice, say something nice, say hi friend, nice day, whatever it is. Just do these little tiny actions. So okay, I've got a little quiz for you. I want you in the chat box to start writing down little actions, little ideas that you think might be a nice random action that you can do for somebody else. Write down, like, smile at somebody, or pick up somebody's paper, or pay for the cup of coffee for the person behind you. Just start throwing out ideas. What are some ideas that you think you might be able to apply, like little actions, right? Or maybe you might volunteer at a soup kitchen. Shout out some ideas in the chat box. What you think might be just a nice little action that might put a smile on somebody's face. Like little random actions, because they're countless. There are countless random actions, right? So just write in the chat box what you think a nice random action would be, because there's so many. I mean, what actions can you dream up? And the great thing about this is that it helps you get over that automatic selectivity and the preferential treatment of other people. And Karen's saying, letting someone have your seat on the train who is standing up. Perfect. I love that. Yeah. When you're when you're on the subway or you're on the bus and you say, hey, please have my seat, or something like that. That's perfect. I hadn't even thought of that one, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, ideas like that. That's a great idea, Karen. So, just random ideas like that are perfect. And these are all perfectly altruistic, because you're not selectively saying, I'm going to do this for this person, I'm going to do that for that person. It becomes automatic, because you're just doing a good deed without expecting anything in return. And it's really, letting go of things. And Doreen is saying, here's a great one: letting somebody step in line. Maybe they've got a need. Let them step in front of you if you're in line. That's a great idea. Maybe they're in a hurry and you're not, and you can sense they're in a hurry. Doreen, that's a great idea. I hadn't even thought about that. Or maybe carrying their grocery bag if you see that they're having trouble. Whatever it is, these are great ideas. I love them. Keep them coming. So if you're able to do this, and you're able to do these good deeds without the expectation of reward, it becomes perfectly altruistic. And ultimately, the best way to start practicing this is sitting for a meditation called the loving kindness meditation. And here's another one. Terry's saying, bringing up someone's garbage cans, taking over a meal. Yes, another great idea. That's another phenomenal concept where you're just helping them out, saying, hey, listen, I'll take out the trash today. Don't worry about it. Or bringing them a meal. Maybe there's somebody who is kind of maybe they're sick, or they're maybe they're having problems walking, or they can't get out of bed or something. Just bring them a meal. That's a great idea. That's a wonderful thing. But the loving kindness meditation is something that's very popular in the Buddhist tradition. A lot of health benefits that have been documented with it, like chronic pain, really helps reduce chronic pain. Certainly anger management. Remember, we were talking about anger. We were the ones that shoot first, ask questions later. So it really helps reduce that anger issue and the stress that you're undergoing. And it really helps increase your empathy for other people, because what you're doing is you're starting to think about, okay, what is it that I can do for other people? And so these are things that are really kind of important. So what I'd like to do is take you through a really short, brief, loving kindness meditation. So what I want you all to do It's just briefly shut your eyes, close your eyes, relax wherever you are. If you're driving, don't close your eyes, please. Just listen to my voice. But if you're not driving and you're not on heavy machinery, maybe you're just in, your chair somewhere, then it's okay to close your eyes. But the way this loving kindness meditation works is that you just sit in your chair, you close your eyes, and you just relax for a while. You just let your muscles get soft and find your natural rhythm of your breath. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just gently bring it back to center and allow the thoughts that come in just to leave as they naturally do. Just think like it's kind of a like water, and just allow yourself to get really relaxed. And then imagine you're feeling complete physical and emotional wellness. You're totally at inner peace, and start feeling that you are full of love, that you are loved by all people, that you are loved by spirit, and that you are perfectly loved, okay? And you have perfect love for yourself. Love yourself, and just start thinking that you love yourself. This is wonderful. So, as you start to realize that you love yourself, start feeling perfect love for yourself and start thanking yourself that you have perfect love for yourself and that you are thankful for everything that you have. So then start thinking several, maybe 3 or 4 different reassuring messages to yourself. Perhaps they could be, may I be happy, may I be safe, may I be healthy. Whatever it is, you can make up your own. Just wonderful, positive, reassuring messages that are going to help you feel wonderful. Feel the warmth. Bask in the feeling of warmth and happiness that you're experiencing, and self-compassion and self-love. Let the feelings kind of envelop you, right? There's just swarming in like wonderful waves of warm water, warm bath water, feelings of love. And just do this for a while. And after a while, connect the imagery and the loving phrases. Start to feel the loving imagery and the loving phrases that's coming in. And over time, start feeling this loving kindness coming in. You're so full of loving kindness that it starts to bubble outside you, and you start sending all this loving kindness to your entire family and all of your loved ones, and you start to feel that all the loving kindness just starts to expand beyond you. You're sending your loving kindness to your family, to your loved ones, everybody in your life that's really important to you, and feel your gratitude for them in your life. Feel the love you have for them. Send them your love. And then next, start shifting your attention to other people beyond just your family members. Start thinking there are other people as well. Maybe they're friends, maybe they're acquaintances, other people that are in your life. Start envisioning them. Start seeing that they are in perfect wellness like you were, and that they're finding peace. They're very calm. Just friends and acquaintances, right? Everything's at peace. And next, start directing that loving kindness that's been bubbling up from your entire body to everyone in the world, no matter who it is. A lot of strangers, maybe, people that you just don't even know. Whether it's people in the next town, people in the next county, next state, next country, whatever it is. Send all this loving kindness that's bubbling out of you to everyone around the globe. And to start feeling this love that's really starting to move around. And finally, because you're sending so much love to everybody around the world, start feeling yourself sending this loving kindness that's bubbling out of yourself to those people that you don't get along with. Start sending this loving kindness to people that you're in conflict with. Maybe they're really difficult for you to get along with. Send them loving kindness. People that you're in conflict with. People that maybe you consider to be an enemy. Send them loving kindness. See them with inner wellness and peace and desire to give them perfect happiness, health, and contentment. with nothing in return. You want nothing in return. You only want their best interests in mind. And as you're offering all of these people, especially your enemies, this loving kindness, start to see and feel everybody receiving that peace and that kindness. Do you start to feel that you are also receiving the kindness? You're also starting to receive that inner peace? Are you starting to feel the loving kindness kind of starting to boomerang back to you? Are you starting to feel inner wellness and contentment and forgiveness as you forgive all the people around you that may have done something to you, like your enemies or those people who were difficult to you? Are you starting to feel a sense of contentment and forgiveness as you forgive everybody around you? And as you do that, you're releasing all the rumination, all the problems that's inside you. And now you've allowed that to flow out of you. And you have nothing left within except love and inner peace. And now that you've done that, allow yourself to come back to the present. Allow yourself to start wiggling your toes and wiggling your fingers. Start feeling your back on the chair, your clothes on your skin. Start becoming aware of your surroundings. Start moving your body. Open your eyes and come back to the present. Welcome back. How'd that feel? Do you feel more content, more full of forgiveness, more full of loving kindness to everybody around you throughout the world? Does it feel different? Do you feel like you're in a different place? Because now, loving kindness is not going to happen by accident. Again, this is a discipline. And that loving kindness meditation you can do over the course of 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or longer. Ideally, what you should be doing is taking that loving kindness meditation and expanding that over the course of weeks. Maybe the first week, you're just sending yourself love. The next week, you're sending that loving kindness to your family. The third week, you're sending that loving kindness to acquaintances. The fourth week, you're sending that loving kindness to people around the world. And the fifth week, you're sending loving kindness to your enemies and difficult people in your life. So maybe you can stretch it out over a course of weeks. But you can see how the impact of loving kindness and metta has a material impact on your life. It's a commitment. It's tough because remember we were talking about the ego mind, and it's really difficult because the ego mind's going to go down screaming. And so you got to cultivate it. You got to practice it. It's a discipline. It's a lifestyle, but it's very intentional. But if you want it, you got to live intentionally. Practice this loving kindness. Do it in the short term and then start to practice it more and more as it becomes a habit. Live a life intentionally, full of loving kindness. That way, as you start doing it for the short term, you're going to wind up getting into a habit, and it's going to turn into a long-term thing. And that's going to be great. And so if you're living a life of loving kindness, it's going to have a material impact on what you do and who you're doing it with. You're going to be happy, and everybody around you is going to be happy, and you're going to be sending off this joy and fulfillment of life to everybody around you. And as a result, you're going to start really helping others. You're going to be in a place where you're going to be volunteering more, helping others more, just being more positive, more full of love for yourself and for others. And there's a great saying that I absolutely love. You find happiness not by acquiring it, but by giving it to others. Let me say that again. You find happiness not by acquiring it, but by giving it to others. Think about that for a second. As you're giving happiness to other people, you find your own happiness. That's a profound concept, but that's what loving kindness is all about. So I hope this has been something that's been useful for you, something that's been helpful for you, and I hope that little loving kindness meditation was something that you can, take with you and really work on it, and work with it over several weeks and start to see how it impacts with you. Wow, and Karen's saying that her chest went really heavy and hot and tingly between your eyes. Wow, you see how what an impact that makes. It's such a deep meditation as you start to really open up your heart, as you really start to open up your the being within. That ego just lets go, and your love just like expands. And Shelley's saying it's really difficult, but try to invite him, and that's great. Just because your brother is a difficult person to get along with, you still invite him. So that's great. That's a loving kindness as well. So if your brother's somebody who is a difficult person to get along with, start sending him loving kindness. And the more loving kindness you're sending to your brother, the more loving kindness you're going to have within. Remember, you find happiness not by acquiring it, but by giving it to others. What else here? Yes, and Karen's saying it's like revising everything and doing it for an exam, doing it for a new calling. So yeah, this is something about it's like a whole new life. It's like somebody turns on the light, and then suddenly you can say, I'm going to focus my life on something that normally would seem so difficult, but when you begin to practice that meditation, it becomes second nature. But again, it's a discipline, it's a commitment, it's a lifestyle, like anything else. Practice makes perfect. So the more that you do it, the better it gets. So Doreen's saying, "Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it, Doreen. I'm so thankful that you're here and that you enjoyed it. Oh, and you're doing the sitting in the power. Great. That's fabulous. Another wonderful meditation. Sitting in the power, really expansive meditation, loving kindness, very expansive meditation, because you're thinking about outside of yourself. All of this is just a way of helping you to relax the inner being and connect with everything that is outside of yourself and expanding yourself. So one of the things that's really important is trying to get into that practice every day. Meditate every day, regardless of what kind of meditation it is. Personally, I like sitting in the power, like Doreen was just mentioning, but also this loving kindness meditation is a fabulous way to really enhance your love, both within and without. Are there any questions that you guys can stump me with? Anything I can help you with? Issues you've got? I've been rambling on here for about half an hour, and I would love to answer your questions or thoughts that you've got, whether it's about loving kindness or spirit or anything else that happens to be on your mind. Because I know what's so interesting is finding out, where do these ideas come from? Why are they so important to us? What are the benefits for us? What are the benefits for other people? How do they impact other people? Is this important for our own spiritual growth? Is this important that it's so important that Spirit wants us to be working with this? And I would say to all those questions that I just raised, I would say yes, it's all important. Spirit definitely is something that they're always looking at us to try to improve our connections, with them, but also as they look at us, they're kind of looking backwards on themselves, and they're saying, we wish we had done this when we were in the physical. We wish we had expanded our spirituality when we were in the physical. Because there's a great saying, and this comes through Spirit all the time, where they're saying a person is elevated not when they're in the Spirit level and not when they get to Spirit, but by their actions are defined by what they do in the here, in the physical, in the now. So it's not like you're going to do all these wonderful actions when you're in Spirit and you're saying, okay, well, I'm going to improve myself, and I'm going to increase my awareness, my spirituality, and my good deeds when I'm in the spirit level. No, you're doing that now. You've got to determine where in the spirit world you're going to wind up by your actions here in the physical. So the more spiritual you are now, the greater the spiritual effect you're going to have when you decide to go back to the spiritual world. So that's why loving kindness is such a critical piece of this. It's a big part of the pie. We're all thinking we're so focused on the material world, we're so focused on our ego mind and protecting ourselves, and, get away from me, I'm gonna, pop your one in the face, that we lose sight of all this. That's why I'm trying to get everybody to kind of open their eyes and see the reality of what's around us, because we live here in an illusory world. Everything that is what we consider to be reality is not reality at all. We are looking at the walls, we're looking at our skin, we're looking at the person across the hall, and we're saying, this must be our reality, when in fact, it's only a dream, because the greater reality is the truth around us beyond what we can experience and hear and know right now with our physical senses. That's what it's all about. That's the expansive connection that's all around us. That's the concept that we have to begin to understand. So realize, again, that we are spirit within. We're not just physical human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings who have come down to have a human experience for a short time. We live the life, and then we go back into spirit. Really reversed. It's really backwards. Think about it that way. And Doreen's saying, always trying to get a connection with my late husband sometimes. Not sure if signs are true signs. Great point. So the question, it seems, Doreen, is, and I hear this all the time, and it's a very common one, is that my imagination or is that real? So the question becomes, are we opening ourselves to the universe? Are we opening ourselves to the signs from spirit? Or are we shutting ourselves down and saying, no, that was just my imagination? Well, let's think about it for a second. Who are the people who are always communicating to, quote unquote, make-believe friends? Right? I'm going to see if you guys can chat. Put in the chat. Who's always talking to make-believe friends? Just type your answer in here. Anybody know? Think. Who? What people are always talking? Yes, Doreen, exactly. Children. Children are the ones, kids, exactly. They're the ones who are always talking to make-believe friends. Now I'll ask you a question too. Why are children always speaking to the quote-unquote make-believe friends? Adults don't talk to make-believe friends, and if they do talk to make-believe friends, they're winding up in a beautiful padded cell with no windows. Can you tell me why children are always talking to make-believe friends? Maybe fairies, maybe unicorns. Why are they talking to these make-believe friends? Because they're more sensitive, yes, but there's an even more simple reason. Because they're spirits, because they're not make-believe. Well, you're getting to the right idea, because children have not been told what to believe. Children have not been told this is the logical way that you have to believe this, that, and the other thing, because everything is possible. Children believe in fairies. Children believe in the Easter Bunny. Children believe in unicorns and Santa Claus and everything else, right? There's nothing for a child that is impossible. When you go up to a child and you say, what do you want to be when you grow up? They say, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a princess. I want to be, fill in the blank. Whatever it is, it's possible. So for them, there's nothing that's not possible. Everything is possible. So they're able to communicate with spirit because they know it's possible. In their mind, it's an absolute certainty. Just like the princess, just like the unicorn, just like the Easter bunny. It's total certainty. Just like they know on Christmas morning, they're going to wake up and they know Santa Claus is going to bring them Christmas presents, right? It's a certainty in their mind. It's a total certainty. And so they are fully certain that spirit's right there and they're talking to them. They know it for a fact. No one's told them otherwise. So they're sitting there having a grand old conversation with them. And their conscious mind has not gotten in the way. Their logical mind has not gotten in the way. Their analytical mind has not gotten in the way. Yet when we become adults, we lose that. We lose our make-believe senses. We lose that childlike fantasy ability to be open and sensitive to everything, that everything is possible. When we're adults, we've been conditioned to think analytically, logically, and to a point where this is the way we have to think. We live in this like tiny little box. Instead of having everything open to us, the entire universe is possible, we're suddenly shrinking down into this microscopic little circle or a little tiny box, and that's all we can think of. And we can't think outside that box. That's the universe we live in now, right? Whereas for kids, anything's possible. For us, hardly anything's possible. We got to get back to that feeling of being a child again. Because once you're a child, all of a sudden, everything is possible again. Bring out that inner child that's within you. Once you open up the inner child that's within, that's when you start to see everything. That's when you start to feel everything. That's when your sensitivity opens up and you can begin to understand the spirit's standing right beside you. And you understand that they're right with you. You feel them. You feel their energy. You know it's them. And so to your question, when you say, well, sometimes I can, see these signs, but is that real? If it was a child seeing that sign, they'd say, oh, yeah, sure, that's real. That's him. Yeah, no problem. We adults go, I'm not so sure about that. That's our logical, analytical adult mind coming to the problem. So long story short, get back to that childhood make-believe sense where anything is possible, because it truly is possible, and they truly are standing right there, right with you, where everything is really possible. What else? Eileen saying that she swore she had a monkey in the room that she slept in. You see, it's entirely possible that what was coming to her was either A, the spirit of a monkey, I don't know, or perhaps it was somebody who was letting them be seen as a monkey. Because quite often you'll see or hear children talking to these people, and they're saying, I am absolutely positive that's exactly what it is, right? Jill, great question. How do you remove the skepticism? That's the $24,000 question. Let me rephrase that, the $24 million question, right? The skepticism is so fundamental to us adults because time and time again, we've been told, you better not think that thought because A, you might be disappointed, or B, you might be laughed at. So we have a fear of failure, or we have a fear of judgment, which, if you think about it, is ultimately a fear of failure. We're always afraid of being disappointed. We're always afraid of being judged. We're always afraid of failure because our parents were often saying, oh, well, we don't want you to get hurt, so you probably better not expect that. We don't want you to get hurt. We don't want your feelings to, be smashed on the rock, so we're going to tell you don't think that way. Don't get your hopes up. And so we don't. Our parents told us, we don't want you to be sad. We couldn't stand that. I can understand that. Problem is, in the process, our childhood expectations get pushed way, way down to the point where we just don't expect anything. We're like, that ain't happening. That can't possibly happen. And also, the skepticism comes from the logical mind, the analytical mind that begins to take over. As we grow physically, as our brains expand, our frontal lobes begin to grow and develop, we then begin to have a greater process within our mind where our mind starts analyzing all the data, everything that comes in. It has to make sense. And so we have to have a way of making sense and putting it into perspective. And so we've, in order to say, okay, well, we're going to follow this action and not that action, now that it's been arranged in a logical fashion, we're only going to follow those things based on our prior experiences we know for a fact that we can follow on. So we're going to be skeptical about the things we're not quite so sure on, and we're going to put them in the background. Those things that we know 100%, we're going to put them in the foreground, and we're going to act on them. Those things we're not so sure on, well, we'll get back to them. You see how it kind of, our brain is, it's constantly going, constantly in motion. And again, it's part of that ego mind where we're thinking, how do I protect myself, right? It's how do I protect my being? How do I protect myself from not getting hurt? So our brain, not only is it growing and being a little more logical, the ego is stepping in saying, how do I protect myself? And so it's shifting. That's kind of one way. And so the question is, how do you remove the skepticism? Is allow yourself just to start saying, whatever I feel is real. Because the biggest issue, for example, with developing mediums is that they're not trusting the information they're receiving. I mean, all adults, when they're trying to connect with spirit, maybe loved ones in spirit, they don't trust what they're receiving. You know, developing mediums, for God's sake, have the same issue. There's a famous saying in mediumship circles for developing mediums that goes like, trust and surrender. That's just not human, right? Our human minds have been wired to control things. If we were just to surrender, we'd get eaten up by the saber-toothed tiger. The way our brains have been wired is to always be on alert, always be in control, so that if we got attacked by that saber-toothed tiger, we knew it and we could run. But if we just surrender, we're no longer in control. And then if we get attacked by that saber-toothed tiger, we're out of luck. So the big issue is, how can we surrender? How can we trust what we're receiving? Because all of our adult life, we've been trained to learn that we've got to be very skeptical, very logical, and that we can only trust those things that we know for certain they're going to work for us. But as children, we just surrendered to everything because everything was make-believe. So we've got to get back to that child state. We've got to surrender to everything that we're experiencing. We've got to let go. And we've got to trust everything that's coming in. So, for example, if I was to tell you, for example, you were like, let's say, a developing medium. You wanted to be more sensitive. You wanted to connect with more spirits. I would tell you, trust the information that you're receiving and surrender to the information that you're experiencing. Spirit knows what it's doing. Don't analyze the information. Don't make it logical. Don't try to focus on the conscious aspect that you're receiving. If you see a red cardinal and it's acting really funny, not the way cardinals normally do, and you think, wow, that might be my relative. No, that's just wishful thinking. I'll bet that's the way you think, right? Because you're skeptical. It's our adult way of thinking. Let it go. Be like a child. Allow the fantasy and the make-believe to come alive. If you think it's your relative in spirit in that cardinal, I'm willing to bet it probably is. If you're seeing lights that are dancing around that in ways that they shouldn't be, Are you going to say, that's just a reflection of light coming from across the street from somebody's mirror? I know I'm not going to get fooled by that thing. I would bet you otherwise and say, unless there's some way that you can prove it to me, I'm going to go with the fact that it's spirit trying to capture it. Obviously, maybe you want to try to find a way that you can tell yourself, okay, this is real, by saying, can I prove otherwise? If you can't prove it otherwise, you basically, spirit in my book is innocent until proven guilty. So always go with the fact that spirit's communicating with you and letting you know it's there unless you can prove it otherwise. It's not the other way around. We're now in the mode of going back and saying we're going to shoot first and ask questions later. We're going to say you're guilty until proven innocent. You're not real until you prove it to me. It's the other way around. Spirit is real and they're innocent until you can prove otherwise. You kind of see how it kind of it twists around. So I've been talking a lot, and Karen hits a great point. She makes my huge, long-winded explanation. Follow your intuition. If your gut's telling you it's real, it is. So with that, I'm going to end my long-winded diatribe. Yes, Jill, you're welcome. So with that, I will end my Sermon on the Mount, as it were, right? Just remember that coming up on this February 23rd or February 24th, I'm having two different classes at 6 p.m. I've got a master class, and it's all about how you can, this very topic we were actually talking about, is how you can improve your intuition, how you can expand your spiritual awareness. And it's a free class. Come by. I think I've talked to you about it before, and if here's what it looks like. And so this is something that is so fundamental. And this is really something that is really something that I really want to be able to have people see, be able to have people know how they can improve their own intuition and their own spiritual awareness. And this is the website, if you want to go on to it, and it'll describe what I'm going to talk about. That should say February 23rd or 24th. It's not 2 days in a row. It's only one day on each. It's at 6 o'clock. And it's going to be a fun masterclass, right? It's just going to be this loads of fun. I'm here for you. If you haven't sensed it yet, I'm kind of passionate about this stuff. I love talking about it. So this is going to be a fun class. I can't wait to talk about everything under the sun about spiritual awareness, spirituality, improving your intuition. How do you get in contact with spirit? How do you sense that they're there? How do we take our adult brain and turn it into a child open brain, right? Great. So, great. I'm glad to see so many people have already signed up. So wonderful. This is great. And this is making my heart swell. I am, and I'm seeing lots of hearts floating up into the sky. This is great. So, with that, if you don't have any questions at the moment, then what I will do is say thank you to everybody yet again. You're always so much fun to work with and to speak with and to answer questions with, and you really make my heart sing. So I love coming here every week, talking with you and sharing different ideas about spirituality, how you can live your life to a closer spiritual life, to work with the energy that's all around us, and so how we can improve our life here and for later. So I will see you all next week, and if anybody's got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time. So bye-bye for now, and have a great night.